Women have often been the victim of sexualization and misogyny throughout film history. However, as society advanced and women began having a more prominent role in society, film adapted to these ideals and began portraying women in a more empowering manner. 100 Yen Love is an example of this evolution through its portrayal of the main female protagonist, Ichiko. Ichiko exhibits a noticeable personal transformation in this film, defying female stereotypes and commenting on the struggles females face. The film comments on these stereotypes and struggles through the concepts of body genre and feminism interwoven in different scenes. The first scene we will be analyzing is the opening scene, which introduces Ichiko as an unkept female character. We see Ichiko wearing sweats, a baggy shirt, and messy hair as she is playing video games with her nephew. Her sister also calls her a slob multiple times. This scene contradicts the typical portrayal of the main female protagonist. The film does not try to glamorize her appearance, but it also doesn't try to make her look bad. This depiction is significant because it breaks down unrealistic standards for women. Drawing on the article titled Feminist Perspectives on Autonomy by Natalie Stolger, we can get a sense of how beauty tends to be a component of self-worth. These beauty standards include dressing in a feminine fashion, such as wearing dresses and putting on makeup. However, Ichiko is not trying to fulfill these beauty standards, nor is she attempting to deliberately rebel against the beauty standards. How she dresses is simply a reflection of how she views herself and her identity. In other words, Ichiko has the autonomy to decide how she chooses to present herself, whether it be in a feminine manner or not, as Friedman noted in the article. By Ichiko's choice of baggy clothes, messy hair, and a slumped walk, we, the audience, can interpret her character as lacking self-esteem and hiding who she really is from everyone around her. The next scene we chose is Ichiko's reaction after she was sexually assaulted. In this scene, we see her get out of bed calmly and report the incident through the phone. A struggle females face in society is that of being objectified. In this scene, the audience might expect immediate crying, vengeance, or even a more dramatic reaction. But instead, Ichiko calmly reported the incident. Ichiko does not let this event in her life bring her down, but instead she acts on it and takes more control over her life. This creates a juxtaposition between the oppression and lack of control sexual assault victims face and Ichiko's initiative and autonomy to take boxing seriously. Linear Williams' article, Film Bodies, Gender, Genre, and Excess, proposes that the female body is a medium through which the audience experiences excess emotion. When Ichiko refrains from seeking revenge, the audience may be incited to feel enraged on her behalf, since we have been placed in her shoes an entire time and she did not react how the audience expected her to react. The meaning of this reaction can be explained through the ideas developed in Natalie Stolger's article. Even though Ichiko wore baggy clothes throughout the movie, she was still objectified by a male character. In the article, Grovier describes how women who are the victims of rape or incest tended to blame themselves, devalue themselves, and to have a diminished sense of their own competence and judgment after the sexual assaults. However, Ichiko's reaction counters this, which showcases her autonomy by not letting this event diminish her self-worth, and instead uses what happened as a push to take action and begin boxing, which is inspiring to viewers.
After the incident with her coworker, Ichiko is able to experience a much better, though still far from healthy, sexual engagement with the main male character, Kano Yuji. In Linda Williams' paper, it is suggested that the body genre films make an attempt at social problem solving. The social problem being addressed here is the sexual oppression of women. Ichiko's improved sexual experience shows that women can and should have control over their sexual lives. However, at the time, Ichiko was feeling sorry for herself and not in a good place, so even though she had a much more favorable experience, Yuji kind of took advantage of Ichiko. This sequence does not mean that problem solving did not occur. Solutions to complex social issues will not be found in weeks or even months sometimes. Our society still has work to do regarding sexual oppression of women, and part of that work can start from our understanding of sports and sexuality. One of the central plotlines of 100 Yen Love is Ichiko training to improve herself in boxing and ultimately compete in a match. When Ichiko starts to box, she already has an interest and is quite focused in her training. Then, Ichiko's enthusiasm for boxing is intensified when she finds out that Yuji has started going out with another girl. This development does not come as much of a surprise for the audience, but for Ichiko, who seemed to be holding on to hope that Yuji would return some compassion and love, it was a hard blow. The late realization of this information emphasizes a melodramatic aspect of the film. There is an appeal to pathos that further pulls the audience onto Ichiko's side and compels the audience to want a happy ending for Ichiko. Viewers are moved by Ichiko's increased efforts at the gym, and at times we are also moved to feel tired with Ichiko, as we see grimaces and hear grunts of extortion as she grinds through her grueling workouts. Boxing is Ichiko's place and time to vent. Unlike a traditional female character, Ichiko does not react to the sad news by crying or immediately showing a vulnerable and weak side. Ichiko does the opposite. She gets stronger. This concept is very important in breaking down outdated societal associations of women with vulnerability and passivity. Through a montage that includes Ichiko training and passing the boxing certification exam, we see her physical transformation mirroring her mental transformation. Physically, Ichiko starts to tie up her hair, and she no longer has hair covering her face. Mentally, Ichiko gains more confidence in herself, demonstrated by her insistence on taking the exam and signing up for a boxing boxing match. According to Catherine McKinnon in Feminism Unmodified, Discourses on Life and Law, being an athlete suggests that a person is in charge of themselves and able to take action. These traits contradict patriarchal views that women should have a passive role and be available to be acted on rather than act for themselves. Female athletes are strong and physically self-possessed, which threatens the male claims to dominance and authority. By highlighting Ichiko's athletic transformation, the film is challenging notions of male authority and shows that women who have self-respect and the capacity to act for themselves are inspiring and should not be treated as an anomaly. Furthermore, during the training montage, it feels very justified seeing Yuji, now left by the girl from the tofu stand, solemnly stare at Ichiko in the gym he used to train at. The melodrama has made viewers sympathetic of Ichiko's difficulties, and seeing Yuji alone and dreary feels righteous since he took advantage of Ichiko earlier. This scene is flipped from early in the film when Ichiko stared into the gym to see Yuji training, and directly displays how women can be strong and self-possessed, while men can be weak and vulnerable. Another case in point, Ichiko's parents. Situations like this are rare in popular media and film, but would help bring about more just and progressive expectations about women and men. Ichiko and Yuji have their own failures and struggles that they try to overcome, but it is significant that Ichiko appears to handle her situation better than Yuji. She commits herself to boxing and even returns to help out with her family's store, despite the rift between her and her sister. Yuji, on the other hand, quits boxing out of insecurities, is saved by Ichiko from the cold rain, and cannot even face Ichiko upon seeing her working at the bento store after their relationship ended. Seeing a woman serving as a better role model than a man contributes to dissolving centuries of patriarchal dominance and gender inequality, which have been reinforced by films traditionally. Critically, Yuji and Ichiko's fathers are not framed as stock for jokes. Their issues with insecurity and lack of self-esteem are treated seriously, thus the film's messages are more genuine. These messages are significant not just in empowering women, but also in encouraging men to carefully consider how to improve themselves and help to stop the perpetuation of harmful social constructs about femininity and masculinity. At the conclusion of the film, Ichiko finally gets to fight in a boxing match. Despite the build-up with the training montage and the emotional attachment to Ichiko that the film has built, Ichiko does not enjoy an underdog victory moment and loses the match. After the match, now bearing a black eye, a tired Ichiko makes her way out of the venue and then breaks into tears. Crying is typically associated with femininity and weakness. However, tears are also important for empathy. Showing vulnerability is not necessarily weakness. It can help us connect with each other and develop stronger and healthier relationships built around understanding. In the case of 100 Yen Love, the melodramatic aspect of Ichiko's full display of emotion draws the audience in and impels the audience to think about what the tears mean for Ichiko's development. One interpretation is that the tears represent emotional maturity. At the start, Ichiko appears to not want to care about things, but after the match she shows that she's warming to the idea of caring. From the clip that was just shown, the repetition of "I wanted to win, kachitakatta" demonstrates her caring. Ichiko lost the match in front of an audience that included family and people that she knew, but Ichiko got to feel the joy of connecting with another person over shared interest. She experienced a genuine moment of human connection that she never had before. Ichiko's tears are sad and happy at the same time. They represent Ichiko opening herself up and the culmination of her character development. In this way, the film challenges traditional ideas that tears are a weakness. That being said, I do have reservations about Yuji never being depicted crying, despite the fact that his life is also clearly in shambles. He is always stoic and follows the trope that boys don't cry. Being emotionally numb is in fact dangerous as a human and prevents formation of good relationships with others as you aren't able to empathize. But I digress. Overall, the film tries to let the audience change its perspective about sexist attitude towards crying and see it in a different light.